This is basic sign creation with Visual Sign Pro. Today I'm going to create an authorized personnel only sign in a size to fit onto a 12 by 24 signboard, which is one of our standard sizes. Most of the process we're going to talk about today is going to follow this toolbar down, which keeps your order of operations intact to be able to create signs efficiently, especially while learning the program. We're going to start with the Shapes tool to make your border first. This is going to set the size to fit onto your signboard. Once I click the Shapes tool, I'm going to go to the workspace and click and drag. Once I've created the rectangle, now is when I'm going to size it to fit onto the signboard with the two windows up here at the top. This is your width and your height. I'm going to double click in the width window to make sure you select all the characters and type in 23.5 and hit enter. Then I'm going to double click in the height window and type in 11.5 and hit enter again. What we've done here is set the border up a ½ inch smaller than the size signboard we're going to use. That'll be the case no matter what size signboard that you use for your signs. You're always going to reduce the size by a ½ inch to create your border. That'll allow the border to come in off the edge a little bit so it stands out more, and it'll make you faster at application, which you'll see in the application video. Next, we need to complete our border by creating an inline, which is a second line to cut to define the border. The next tool down on the toolbar is the outline tool. And the defaults are set up properly on here, so you shouldn't need to change anything. Your inline should already say 0.25, and inline should be the box checked also. And when you hit close, the second line of the border will be there. Next, we're going to type out our text, which again is the next tool down on the toolboard. When I click the text tool, you're going to click in an empty spot on the workspace. You want to make sure that you type in all capital lettering. It makes the signs easier to read, and it's also easier to work with the vinyl. And I'm also going to set it to center justify, so that way my text will be centered on top of each other within the sign. Type authorized, then hit enter, personnel, hit enter again, and type only. Now you'll be able to take this orange arrow tool, and the node in the center of your text here works like a handle, and it'll allow you to move your text into the sign. And I'm going to grab the corner node to stretch it out a little. You always want to use the corner nodes because it will keep your text proportionate. And what that'll do is it'll maintain standardization from one sign to another. Whether you make a large sign or a small sign, your text will always be proportionate to itself. Next, we'll select the entire sign, border and all. You need to make sure the border is selected in this part as well as the text, because next we'll align your sign with the alignment tool. And if the border isn't selected, the text won't know what it's centering to. Do you want to break multi-line text objects apart? This will come up anytime you have multiple lines of text. And no, you do not want to break them apart. That will keep all three lines intact just the way they are. And then up here at the top of the screen and your info bar, these two icons that are teal in color and have the red line going through the center of them are center vertically and center horizontally. It didn't move a lot because it was fairly close to centered where it was already located. But now you know that they're perfectly centered, and this sign would be ready to cut just as it is. And that's where we'll move down to the next tool on our toolbar, which is the scissors. The scissors are where you're going to go to cut your sign. It will ask, invisible objects are present. Do you wish to cut them? Yes, you do. This will make sure that you cut both lines of your border. Now your sign is set up on the vinyl, and this sign is set up in the most efficient way possible to waste the least amount of vinyl. But if you need to change orientation on a certain type of sign, up here in your cut toolbox, all the way to the left, these are your rotate buttons. It'll allow you to rotate your sign 90 degrees, which sometimes that will be useful for saving yourself vinyl. And there's also mirroring buttons. In this case, the two here, I'm going to mirror horizontally, and this would be for glass application. That'll allow you to cut your sign in reverse, so you'll put it on the inside of the glass, faced out. For example, if you're going to put your company logo up on the front door of your facility, you'd want to put it on the inside in reverse, so that it doesn't have to deal with the outdoor elements. And last, if you wanted to make multiple copies of this sign, for example, we want to make it a two-sided sign, you're going to come up to this little blue box here next to repeats. And when you click the blue box, this dialog box that comes up will tell you how many repeats that you would like, and you can change this number. In our case, we need 2 for a two-sided sign. And the space for X and Y usually is set to 0.39. I like to set it to 0.50, which will be a half an inch between each copy. And that'll allow you to have a little space in between the signs to separate them for application, but it also won't waste a lot of vinyl, which is why I use that amount. And then press OK. Once you click OK, you can now see there are 2 signs here with a half an inch spacing between them so that you can cut them apart. And this would be ready to cut just like it is. Once you're ready to cut, you're going to go up to Cut Now. And when you click that, your sign will begin to cut. Before we create our sign, I'm going to explain what the tools are on the vertical toolbar here to the left. This toolbar is set up specifically to make your signs, and the top section is in order to follow basic sign creation. So you have your Select tool, which will allow you to move objects around the board and resize them. You'll have your Rectangle tool to create your borders on your signs. Your Outline tool, which will finish your borders. Text Compose, which will create your messages. Alignment, so you can center your signs. And Cut tool. Once your sign is complete, this is where you'll go to cut your sign out of the vinyl plotter. These will all be discussed in the basic function on how to make a sign. Below here are some other icons you may find useful. The first one is Undo, and the second is Redo. These are common features in most programs, and that's something you can use often to go back a step or forward a step. The next one down is Duplicate. If I have a sign and I want to duplicate it and change out the text on the second sign, that'll allow you to create a second one so that you can change it out without altering your first sign. Then you have Group and Ungroup. This will be for creating an area where objects can be grouped together, meaning they act as one object even though you've designed the 2 of them separately. And then your Zoom buttons. You'll have Zoom In, Zoom Out, and Zoom to Sign Blank, which will allow you to zoom to the same exact visual that you're seeing now so that your sign blank fills the screen.